As a first-time author, how did I write my book? Did I use a typewriter? Did I write it by hand? Or did I use my computer? That's what I'm going to talk about today. The way I chose to write my book 10 years ago when I got started, did I keep doing it that way? How was I finishing 10 years later? Was I still writing the same by hand on a typewriter and a computer? A typewriter sounds so funny, but I've been around long enough that, yeah, one time I did use a typewriter, but not 10 years ago, more like 40 years ago. But what did I use? That's what I'm going to talk about. So to get started, 10 years ago, the first thing I did was open a Word document. I mean, that's where I started writing my book. It was okay. Not really my favorite way, but hey, I was a newbie. At least I was getting something down, writing a couple scenes, writing ideas, that type of thing. So it worked okay. Long term, no. So then I kept searching for what else might work for me. And I came across something very popular that a lot of authors use, Scrivener. And I tried the trial of it, liked it enough, and I ended up buying Scrivener. So cool, so many great features. I felt like I was in a small crate with a ceiling right over my head. So I guess you could say Scrivener did not work for me. I mean, I wanted it to work so bad. I loved the compartmentalization of all of the different features. You know, you could go to the character study, you could go to an index, kind of index card layout. Everything was so compartmentalized, and it's really cool. But it just felt very contained to me and very tight and very claustrophobic, if that makes sense. It just didn't work. I couldn't do it as much as I tried. And I actually, at that time, had a couple different books that I'd kind of started. So I tried it with different things, a couple children's books. Same thing. I just felt claustrophobic and contained. I couldn't do it. So where did I go from there? Well, the next place I tried is the place I stayed and the place where I remain, and that's G-Docs. Who knew? What I loved about G-Docs, which some may say, okay, well, that's kind of similar to Word. What's the big difference? Well, with Word, there was always the fear of, I'm writing here. What if I forget to back up my computer? What if I forget to back up this document and something happens to my computer? I think we've all been there where your computer crashes and now you're in big trouble. So it was really scaring me. I had anxiety over it. I didn't like it. So that was one of the other things about Word that kind of scared me. G-Docs, what I love about G-Docs is my book is anywhere that I am. I've actually been on a plane and worked on my book from my phone, from a teeny phone with glasses on, but actually done some editing on the book, not writing, of course. Can't write with one finger, but when I've been in editing mode, which that mode, obviously, editing over and over, it's something that has worked. So what's really cool about G-Docs is it's laid out, if you haven't seen it, similar to a Word document. It's very simple. I actually have it on my computer right now. I don't know how well you can even see it, but there's my document. There's actually my manuscript. And if you can see along the side there, one of the things I love about G-Doc is you can actually expose the chapters on a left-hand column. So if I wanted to move from chapter 4 down to chapter 25, something like that, I could just click on the chapter, it would bring me down. So it has, writing a book can be very linear, and there are times when you need to be able to see everything, like have a helicopter view, and that column along the left still gave me that feeling of that helicopter view. So that's one of the things I actually really liked about G-Docs. And then it was clean. It didn't feel like there was a ceiling, there were walls, just a lot of white space. Maybe it's that's what I needed. Maybe that's what I need, because now I'm writing the sequel to The Serendipitous Life of Ruby Slippers. And Guess what? I went back and checked out Scrivener again because now it's been a decade. Still really cool. As a published author who now understands how to write a book, the character studies, the world creating, just everything involved in writing a book, I thought, yeah, this will work now. This will work. I get it. I didn't get it. I was a newbie. I went back in there and I started to feel like my world was shrinking. I just, for me, I can't do it. And I guess all that matters is what works, right? There are probably authors out there still writing longhand first. But yeah, for me, it still felt very confining and fragmented almost. This feels very freeing. Lots of white space. I'm a very visual person, yet I have that ability to have an overview with the chapter column on the left. Yeah, I mean, just a love affair. I still love doing it this way. Feels very open and freeing for me. So the bottom line is, obviously, we've got to try it all as writers, right? And see what works best for us. But for me, to get the creativity flowing, to get in my right mind and not be disrupted by things that pull me to my left brain, my rational, logical brain, pull me out of the story, which would be fragmentation or too much confined feeling, for me, G-Docs works best. Still works best. Something so simple that I can, and I may be actually going down a weaving trail giving you this information, but the other thing I love about G-Docs is because it's in the cloud, it's everywhere, and it's always backed up, right? Because it's in the cloud. I started to talk about writing on a plane. You can also download it. So if you're somewhere that you don't have Wi-Fi, you can download your book, work on your book, and then when you get to Wi-Fi, re-upload it and you're good. But otherwise, it's always synced. It's always synced to the latest version, no matter where you are, what you're working from, your iPad, your laptop, your desktop, your phone, you always have the latest version. I love G-Doc. So anyway, that's my story. My first book a decade ago, I started in Word, too afraid about it not being backed up all the time, went to Scrivener, too confined, fragmented, just didn't work for me. Super cool tool, just didn't work for me. And then went to G-Doc, where I now remain writing my second book. So that's my story. I hope it helped you. Have a great day.